So, because we went straight back to the cinema for a brand new release this week, I will give you the synopsis. Former Olympic gold medalist to world heavyweight champion, boxer George Foreman leads a remarkable life. He finds his faith, retires, becomes a preacher. When financial hardship hits his family and church, George steps back in the ring and regains the championship at age 45, becoming the oldest heavyweight champion in boxing history. It is the brand new biopic, Big George Foreman.
Great man.
Yeah, let's get straight into it. In fact, it's funny. It's got one of the longest titles of a film. I don't know if you know this, Cockney John. It's got an insane
It's a bit like Borat, isn't it? It's like Big George Foreman, the miraculous story of redemption and saviours or whatever.
Well,
champion.
The official tag. I mean, it's on the cinema listings as Big George Foreman.
Yeah.
But the actual title is Big George Foreman: The Miraculous Story of a Once and Future Heavyweight Champion of the World.
That's a mouthful.
So let's get straight into it. It's a biographical sporting drama. Cockney John, I will throw it straight over to you. Thoughts on Big George?
I really wanted to like this because I love the George Foreman story's incredible. Going away, doing what he did, becoming a preacher, he lost all his money, coming back. And the reason he came back wasn't to fight. It was, it was to, in the film, I mean, it was all about saving the community centre, but I think he probably also wanted, that check.
Those Benjamins.
Those Benjamins, yeah. And, George Foreman, his life story is incredible. Not a great start. He wasn't the nicest person as a youngster. Skips over a lot of that. Skips over massively all the interesting bits, basically. And I only realised why it was the way it was, which is, to me, it was a bit boring at the end when I realised that George Foreman was the producer, that he got an EP credit. Okay. Now, I think that what that basically meant is he had creative control. And so he made the story all about becoming a Christian and finding God. And that's really what the film is. And unfortunately, that's literally the least interesting part of his life. I'd have rather watched an hour and a half of him talking about how his old adverts for the lean, mean, fat grilling machine. They were more interesting than this film, unfortunately. Great soundtrack. Amazing soundtrack. One of the best soundtracks I've heard. It's up there with Guardians for soundtracks. But the film was just a disappointment to me. And although I'm not massively into sports, I'm really interested in people who are that sort of single focus, that single-minded personality type to be the best no matter what. I find it fascinating to gain an insight into those people. So I was really looking forward to that. But this wasn't an insightful film, unfortunately. It wasn't... I like the guy who played Muhammad Ali. I said to you shouted at me, but I think he played him better than Will Smith in Ali. I just thought he was, to me, it was Ali on screen, whereas the Will Smith film was Will Smith playing Ali. Do you know what I mean? I was always aware it was Will Smith, but in this, it was Ali. It was like watching Muhammad Ali again. But yeah, I mean, it was awful, wasn't it? I mean, the first 10 minutes were ace, and we were both looking at each other like, this is going to be great. And then I think about 20 minutes after that, I leant into you and just said, boring. I had like 4.
He ruined the experience for all the 4 people.
I had 4 trips to the toilet because I was just treating myself. It was just nice to get out.
Well, go on then. What is Big George Foreman?
Do you know what? It's the guy who played Ali got it an extra point. And to be fair, the guy who played George Foreman weren't his fault. Great actor. In fact, all the actors in it were brilliant. But it's a two Sandys. It's stranded at the drive-in, I'm afraid.
Two Sandys for Big George Foreman, Cockney John. So, I can't really disagree with too much that Cockney John was saying. I am, as you all know, a massive sports, going to say sportsman then, but I'm just massive now because I don't know the sports. Can get the nod from me. But I'm obsessed with sport, played sport, a sport that I love, which I've never done, which my dad actually believes I would have been really good at. But unfortunately, I've got a scar in the middle of my forehead, which would just open up, was boxing.
I think your nan wanted you to be a boxer as well, didn't she?
Yeah. I think, obviously, my two brothers came out and they were both pretty good looking, and I came out, they were thinking, right,
just this unit appeared.
Yeah. So, I'm massively into boxing movies as well. We obviously spoke about that during Creed 3's review. And I went into this, I'd read a few things, I'd seen the scores, they were pretty average. And I think that's basically bang on right. I thought the acting was good. I thought the lad who played Big George Foreman, which I will give him a shout out because, so Chris Davis,
he was good.
He was really, really good. Forrest Whitaker was in it and he never really puts in a bad shift. And the craziest thing about this, I think, is the story, the actual story about George Foreman, about how he got into boxing, what he ended up accomplishing, how it went wrong, then what, a near-death experience, then finding Jesus, then coming back to save his community and to get those dollar bills in, is amazing. Not only that, but I am a massive fan of the George Foreman grill, as many people
You love
know.
the grill.
Best thing to make toasties on. Cheese and ham toasties, put it on a George Foreman, they are spectacular. And I was heavily invested in this story because my granddad, God bless him, was a massive boxing fan, and he showed me all of the fights, the Rumble in the Jungle, all of that kind of stuff. He showed it me all. So, I was, and then in later years, finding out about him coming back and stuff. The story is incredible. I think that, unfortunately, the movie didn't quite grasp that. It could have been, I think, with a different director, a different path of the story. This could have been one of the greats. Unfortunately, it did fall short of that. I personally believe if you're a boxing fan, if you're like a boxing historian, if you like boxing, if you know George Foreman and respect him, whatever, you will enjoy the film. Like John said, that the acting's great, the soundtrack is brilliant, and it went it was like a wave pool. It started off unbelievable, then it really took a dip, then it kind of came back with the Muhammad Ali stuff, then took a huge dip when he found Jesus and all that. Then, when you're thinking, oh my God, he's coming back, in a blink of an eye, it was over. Yeah. And it was they could have just taken, it should have been half an hour shorter.
Yeah.
They could have fit everything in.
And I think the first hour and a half, honestly, could have been half an hour. I think the main body of the film could have been the build-up to him winning the championship again. Rather that, maybe do this is just me. I would have done it as he was sat in the changing room before his world championship fight, and having flashbacks of what brought him there. That's how I personally would have done it. And I also think, speaking of Forrest Whitaker, I got the impression that the director said to him, can you be a bit more Forrest Whitaker? He was just it was everything that Forrest Whitaker is known for, but a bit more caricature, everything was a bit slower. He's not, part of his acting technique is he's very balanced in the way he delivers his lines, and slow, and he always takes a split second before he speaks and stuff like that. But it was the split second was actually 2 seconds in this film before he spoke. Do you know what I mean? It was I get it. Mate, I feel like the director was can you just make your eye go a bit lower? Just be a bit more Forrest Whitaker.
I mean, I don't think that.
I love Forrest Whitaker's eye, by the way.
Yeah. Well, who doesn't? But I will say one thing: that if they, the film was bang average. Through watching it, all I kept thinking, I was just thinking about my granddad the whole time, and I was thinking about, would my granddad have enjoyed this? And I don't think my granddad would have enjoyed it that much, because what he would have preferred was, I think, what the George Foreman story could be absolutely epic. And I know there's been movie documentaries when we were kids, all that kind of stuff, but I think like a 3 or 4 part documentary with real footage of what he did, the fights, how he came back, all of that kind of stuff would be an unbelievable watch.
Agree with that.
Going back to Big George Foreman as a film, I wouldn't rush out. I'm going to give it 2.5 Harry Stampers. And the reason I'm going to give it an extra half is because I don't like agreeing with Cockney John. And I respect boxers and what they go through. And if you want my honest opinion, the George Foreman grill has saved me hours of cooking. So for that reason, it's getting 2.5.
Fair enough.
So there you go. Big George Foreman is out. We've got so many movies to look forward to. So we really do hope you stay with Adam and Cockney John's Big Movie Podcast, especially over the summer, because it's going to be going off. You know what's coming out. It's going to be epic.